My name is David Etale. I'm a former footballer, Kenyan footballer, veteran, British Army. I'm a motivational speaker. What does it take to be a man? To be a man is someone who needs to stand up and protect and make sure that everything that you're doing in life, you leave a positive impact for people to always remember you.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your coach and your friend Robert Bruale, and this, of course, is the best show in Eastern Central Africa, south of the Sahara, and north of Limpopo, through Buhala Lira Busia, where I come from. Well, this is the All Men Show, a show that does not seek to invite perfect men, but men who want to be better tomorrow than they are today. We bring men who have a story, who will challenge us, who will motivate us and take us to the next level. Men who are willing to show their scars in order for us to understand we are not alone. Today, I have a great man, a man who will inspire you. He's a gentle spirit, but let me tell you, this is a man who has been through it all. How is he still sane and encouraging people? Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, it is my utmost pleasure and joy to have to the show, or on the show, a great man, great friend, Mr. Etale. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
It is an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Who are you? Who is Davy? What did they call you when you were young?
When I was young, I had a nickname.
What was the nickname?
Boy.
Boy. Yeah. Who is Boy? Before we get deep into other things,
Yeah.
who is Boy? Take me and my viewers on this journey. Who is Boy?
Boy is just a young boy who was born in 1986 in the slums of Huruma. My father was a construction worker. He used to work for Posta. Then from there, we moved to Maringo Estate, another Eastlands. And that's when we were there, that's when my passion for football began. And I started playing football when I was young. And then from there, he got another promotion, and then we had to move. But my journey has been just like a journey of any other slum boy who wants to achieve great things. And for me, the thing that was in my mind was just to become a professional footballer.
Did you go through the pressures of temptations of drugs, just like every young person has gone through? And I'm asking these questions because you're an amazing journey.
Yes.
So I want people to appreciate your journey, but having understood the foundation of where you've come from, the things you had to face. Did you go through those challenges, like most young people growing up in those areas?
Yes, I did. And I think I got to a point where that's majority of the things that were happening around me. Those are the things that I knew. You know, obviously going through the primary, then going to high school. Then in high school, now you're seeing all these things. But for me, at that particular moment in time, I wasn't thinking about what was happening around me. I was thinking about just football, because that's all I was thinking about. I just wanted to make sure that I make it by playing football to the highest level that I can.
What position did you play?
I was a striker.
All right.
Yeah.
And how high the ladder did you go in football? Because you went quite high.
Yes, I did.
I want you to tell our viewers your journey. Did you get somebody who believed in you and opened doors for you? So how do you get to play for these big teams you played for?
I think it was most because of the talent I had.
Right.
And when I was in high school, there's some teams that already started. They were trying to poach me to see if I can play for them. But now, my late dad, Mr. Nelson Makitale, he didn't want me to play football because I think he knew football in Kenya was not going to be able to sustain me or
Absolutely.
have a great future,
Right.
because of how footballers were being treated. So I remember my first football club that I got signed was Kabete Waterworks. That's where I started playing my football very seriously. And then I went to Kangemi United. And then from Kangemi United, I went to Kenya Commercial Bank. Then from there is when Jacob Gostumale poached me to Tusker Football Club. Yeah.
Wow. So you've done it all in football.
Yes, I have.
Then, of course, along the journey, you left the country?
Yes, I did.
At what point did you leave the country?
I left the country end of 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you done with your professional playing days?
No,
Here
I
in
was-
Kenya, as it were.
No, I was not done. I think football was not paying well. So, for example, during that time when I was playing for KCB, was if you win a match, you get 800 Kenyan shillings.
Okay.
And if you draw a match, you get 400 Kenyan shillings.
And if you lose?
If you lose, you get nothing. So the 50 shillings that they gave you for fair, if you lose a match, that's the money you are left with. So during that time, it was a bit challenging. And then that's when I went to Tusker. Tusker, it was a bit better because I was getting, I think it was 14,000 a month. And then if you win a match, you get some bonus, which was 3,000. But at the same time, it wasn't still enough because I was trying to help my parents as well with the transition of just the way a normal Kenyan young boy would want to have the best for their family. But now during that time is when I got involved in trying to make more money. I got involved into a group where I used to keep guns for the thieves,
Right.
so that I can make more money. I was quite young and naive at that particular moment in time because nothing else was in my mind other than just making money.
And David, I want us to stick there a little bit because you've said you were naive at that time.
Yeah.
And it got you there. And there's a young man watching. What are the signs? How did they approach you? Of course, they took advantage of your innocence.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So they got you into this thing of hiding their guns.
Yeah.
For a young man who is watching, or a parent who has a young son and maybe is seeing some not so good signs, how did they approach you to get to a place you said, yes, I'll be keeping these guns for you?
I think for me, the way they approached me was because of how I used to dress.
Okay.
I used to dress in a way, the way I dress today is the way I used to dress back then.
You loved fashion.
I just loved fashion from the word go.
Yes.
And I think the way they used to see me, how I dress, how I move, how I walk, they were like, you know what, this is a perfect guy because no one can suspect him.
Yes.
Because I used to be quite quiet as well. I never used to talk a lot. So that's how they approached me. And the people who approached me are people that knew me through football, you know.
Oh.
And they used to see me playing football. So every time we had a off season, we would go to the slums areas and we play these mini tournaments. And by just trying and encouraging even the young players back in the slums to play football and enjoy it, you know. And that's how they poached me. And when they poached me, the money they were giving me is money that I'd never seen that kind of money anywhere. Even I've never seen my dad with that kind of money.
Right.
So it was very tempting for me. And then at the same time, I'm looking at my dad, I'm looking at my mom. And I just decided, you know what, let me go for it. And that's when I started doing that.
Were you staying with your parents at that time?
No, I was staying in my own servant's quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'd go to the crimes and then they give you the guns to hide?
Yeah. But
Okay.
something funny is my dad and my mom, they never knew I had a servant's quarter.
Oh.
Yeah, they never knew I had one. I had a room in our house, but they never knew I had a servant's quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you'd stay at home, they know, okay, our son is here.
Yeah.
But you're renting something else somewhere else.
I'm renting something next to where actually it was quite funny because I was renting a servant's quarter in the same compound that we used to live,
Whoa.
but they never used to know.
All right.
Yeah.
So give me a picture, or give us a picture of how that worked. Give me a good day. At what point would they come for their guns?
It would depend. It
Okay.
would depend. They never used to have a specific date that they tell you. Is they would call you, they would give you a call, and 3 or 4 days before, and they tell you we are coming for them this date. So for me, all I used to do was to make sure that I'm there. So when they come and get them, they get them and leave. Because I got to a point where I never used to think, because I was really young, I never used to think, oh, what are these people going to do?
Mm-hmm.
All I was thinking about is just making money.
The money.
Yeah. And for me, even when I was finishing training, I would still go home and have supper, dinner with my parents, and I would go straight up to my room. But now I would go straight up to my room, but when they're asleep, I would jump off and go to my servant's quarter.
How long did you do this for?
I did it for a year.
For a year.
Mm-hmm.
What stopped you? Did something happen?
What stopped me was, I remember one day I'd left Tusker. We were training in the morning, and I think we were preparing for Africa Champions League to play against Al Ahly.
From Egypt?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going away. And at that time, I used to be a footballer. I used to be a matatu driver part-time, Kangemi. So I'd gone for my shift at 2 p.m. So there was this cop. I didn't know that morning they had raided one of the guys, and he snitched our names. And then when my name came up, it was that name that came up, and people didn't believe that I'm involved with that.
It can't be. This is the footballer, quiet guy.
Yeah. And then everyone were asking questions, about me. And then when he came and approached me, he told me, "Today you're not driving. Can you get out?" And I said to him, "What's wrong?" He said, "I know everything that you're doing." And my heart just went to my stomach, because I knew I'm done.
Right.
And then he approached me and he told me, "I've always watched you, how you play your football, how you conduct yourself. How did you get yourself into this? I know it's about the money, but there are other avenues where you can
make money.
You can make money other than doing this, because this will put you in a lot of trouble, either behind bars or you'll be dead." And he told me, "Oh, by the way, my cousin applied to join the British Army online, and I want you to do the same." And I said to him, "Okay, let me do my shift today, and then I'll do it tomorrow." He said, "No, we are going with you to the cyber cafe now." And he walked me to the cyber cafe. We applied, and I forgot about it. I didn't even think about it, because I just went to do it because he wanted me to do it. And then 3 days later, he calls me. He said, have you checked your email?" I told him no. So I went and checked on my email. The British Army had replied to me, and they said, "We would like to take this process a bit further. Can you send for us your good conduct, this kind of documents, what you do for a living?" And I sent everything. And then 2 weeks later, I was quite lucky enough to get a visa and head off to the UK.
All right. But you still have this case, and allow me to take you back. You have been snitched.
Mm-hmm.
Did that case just go like that? Or did you have to go through some issues with the cops?
To be honest, I think for me, God was on my side.
Right.
Because the only person who knew me quite well was this cop who used to see me day in, day out. Because he was someone who used to come to the football matches. He would see, we would interact. But he didn't, I think for him, he just wanted to save me, because he knew I was better than what I was doing at that particular moment in time. And I think that's why sometimes when I look at life, I look at some people, they've been God sent to try and save you from the negativity that is going on around you. And I think for him, it was just the perfect moment for him to do that. And I think because I didn't have a relationship with my father at all.
Okay.
I didn't have a relationship. I never used to see my father eye to eye.
Why is that?
That was because my father knew what I was doing. But this one day I threatened his life. And I told him, if you try and stop whatever I'm doing, it's not going to be good. And I think parents being parents, they can sense when you're doing something wrong and when you're doing something right. And I think my dad he was someone he had gone to the NYS before. So he was very keen, and he used to pay attention to details, each and everything that you do, but he would keep quiet. But now it got to a point where he was on my nerves every single time. But that particular moment in time, I'm thinking, you don't know what you're telling me. Mm-hmm. But he was trying to put me on the right path.
Right. And because I know there's some fathers watching and sons watching, what did that do for you or to you? Can you pick up some negative things that came about you not seeing eye to eye with your father? Because I want guys to realize the importance of the father-son relationship. Because for you to say you didn't see eye to eye, you live in the same house, but you're not really there with him.
No.
What did that do to you then? And what do you appreciate? Do you appreciate him now? Okay, God rest his soul. But do you now feel and sense the importance of having a relationship with your father?
You know, even when I joined the British Army, before even I joined, I went to my dad to ask for, I told him, look, I've got an opportunity to go to the UK. And he didn't trust me because everything that came out from my mouth from way back was lies, 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 lies. So he got to a point where anything that I said to him,
He didn't believe.
he didn't believe. Even the day that I told him, I've been told to go and get my visa, my dad didn't believe. He woke me at 3 a.m. and he told me, I'm going with you to the embassy to see if you're actually going for this interview. And he took me. He took me there. I did my interview. He left. The day I told him that I got the visa, he asked for my passport. He wanted to see it. I gave it to him. Now I said to him, okay, now I've got this opportunity. I want to go. Will you help me raise funds for the ticket? And he said, no. Until when I see that this is concrete. And I said, I've shown you everything that I can show you.
Yeah.
And then from nowhere, he just came and said to me, I'll get you the ticket. So even the day he took me to the airport, my dad wasn't believing that I'm leaving. So apparently, when he dropped me at the airport, I thought my dad had left. He didn't leave. He stayed at the airport for 2 more hours just to ensure
that you're airborne.
That I'm airborne, that I don't come out. That's how he never used to trust me. And I think...
But you don't, do you blame him for that?
No, I don't. I don't. Everything that my father did when I was growing up, at that particular moment in time, I thought he was wrong. But he was actually right. Because he wanted the best for me.
Right.
But I wasn't seeing that. I wasn't seeing what he wanted for me. I had this image in my head that whatever I'm doing is the best thing for me.
Right.
And the reason why now I regret so bad for that whole period is because my father, even when I went to the UK, I never used to speak to him on the phone for more than 5 minutes.
Just hold on to that. The importance of parents. Young people may think that our parents are being too harsh. You've heard from the man himself. He also has his regrets. Please hold on. If you're a lawyer, get your cup of tea. If you're an Arsenal fan, we're still praying for you to get more points. But see you on the other side of the break. This is the Old Man Show. I'm your coach and your friend, Robert Broale, with the great man, Mr. Etale. See you after the break. Hello everybody, how you doing? Coach and friend Robert Broale with the great David Etale here, a man who has been through quite a journey, a man who is saying it from the heart. And we do believe, for those of you who have joined us from the top of the show, you're being blessed. But also, I was so engrossed with this guest, who is a good friend of mine, that I even forgot to brand myself. This is, of course, Mask Off and 365 with the coach. Lazima nijichoche, and you know, many a times we don't keep our things, but this is the Old Man Show. Tunajua kucheza kama sisi. Niweke you up, David Pole Mazi. Lazima nijichoche.
Ni sawa.
I'll give you a copy.
Thank you.
Ziko mingi?
I'll give you mine when it's out.
Yeah, we'll talk about it as well.
Yeah.
It looks good, right?
Yeah, it does.
All right, thank you very much. David, so your father takes you to the airport. He doesn't believe. I mean, before then, he didn't believe anything you said.
Yeah.
Because uko namcheza game tu kila saa. At some point, you threatened him.
Yeah.
Okay, but you've said it clearly that you know now that he meant the best for you.
Yeah.
So when he took you to the airport, he just wasn't sure you're going. So he waited 2 hours just to be sure the flight is airborne.
Yeah.
Then, you know, gangs, and for those of you who have just joined us, this great man, great footballer, striker, played for Kangemi United. Ghost Bule picked you, went through many other teams, very good striker. Then along the way, some gangsters approached you, your neighbor that time, and you're hiding guns for them in your SQ that your parents didn't know you had because you had a room in your house. And then a great cop who I think to me was your guardian angel forces you to apply to join the British Army. It works out for you. Then you leave Kenya. Had you been out of the country before? No.
I had. But
Or with, of course, football.
with football,
Yes,
but,
yes.
but not Europe.
Not Europe.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you go with football, there are other people handling your issues and all that.
Yeah.
So this is your time now. You have left going to the UK, joining the British Army.
Yeah.
Heathrow. You land in the UK.
Yeah.
What happens? From Maringo to the UK.
I wanted to come back.
Why?
It was absolutely freezing.
Yes.
Because I'd landed when it was winter.
Winter. Okay.
And before you leave, you need to get a sponsor. So a sponsor is someone that you stay with as you continue with your selection. Before now you're selected now to go for training, for the 6-month infantry training.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How was that? New family, of course. The sponsor, you're staying with the sponsor.
Oh, she was she was an amazing, beautiful woman who opened her arms for me with the daughters and the sons. They welcomed me like their own.
Right.
And then that is something that till today I'm always thankful for them for whatever they did, because it's not easy for many people, especially when you're living Kenya, to go and get someone back in the UK who won't charge you for anything. You'll have food, you'll have everything, and life there is expensive as well, you know. So I went through that transition, got selected, and now I started my 6-month training in a place called Catterick in Yorkshire, which is about half an hour from Newcastle Stadium, where it is.
Was that different from football training? It was rigorous.
That was absolutely hell.
Did you want to give up at some point?
Yes, I did.
I know I'm asking all these questions because this determination will, of course, later in life hold you in good stead. So then you do the 6 months. While you're doing the training,
Yes.
the chances are you might be taken.
Or you're not.
And if you're not, you're sent back home?
If you're not, then now you'll have to find out your way of coming back home. Because I remember we started the training 124 people. We finished 23 people.
So it's tough work.
It's tough.
Give us a sneak preview of the kind of training you went through.
It was the kind of training where you don't get sleep. Your locker needs to be perfect. All your t-shirts, your trousers, your combats, when you're ironing them, they need to be perfect. And a section commander would walk in the room and say, I'm doing inspection from nowhere. That is at midnight. He does the inspection, he comes, trashes your locker because of one slight thing that doesn't look right. You'll stay up to about 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m., you're supposed to wake up at 5. So you go back to bed at 3. He comes back again half an hour later. He says he forgot something. That forgetting something, he says he wants to check whether the room is clean. So actually, they are trying to break you mentally. But now they want to see the strongest people who've got the most strongest
mental capacity
that they can hold everything. Sometimes they would come and say, okay, wake up at 2 a.m. There's something called bayonet training. So bayonet training is where you have your rifle, you've got your bayonet at the front, and they say now you're marching. Then they take you to, it's like a kind of a river, but it's absolutely cold.
At 2 a.m.
2 a.m. And there's some drills they tell you that you're going to perform. So if they shout grenade, you need to lie on that cold water and you start crawling. You know, that is the type of sneak peek that I can give you of the type of training it was. Or I can give you a sneak peek of where you're digging the trenches and it's snowing. And the more you dig, the more the snow is piling. And you have to jump into that trench and protect the area of the exercise that you're doing. So you have to go jump in there and you stay for 2 hours. So it's up to you now to think outside the box. What can I do to keep me warm? Because right now you're dealing with cold, you're dealing with cold weather injuries, and once you get a cold weather injury, you'll be discharged from the training.
Right. Were you talking to your dad at that time? Were you allowed communication?
Communication was allowed, but I didn't speak to my dad for those whole 6 months.
All right. In between, somewhere along the 6 months, is there a time you went and just said, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore?
Yes, and I remember that day, it was when we were taken to the gas chamber. There's a training that they normally do, you're taken to the gas chamber. So gas chamber is where, I don't know if you've watched the movies where people wear, there's a gas mask that you wear.
Yes.
So what they normally do is they put you in there and they light in gas, which chokes you. So they tell you to remove the gas mask when you're in there and you speak. And you can't speak.
Of course it's choking.
Yeah, because the moment you open your mouth, it goes inside. There, people vomit, people cry, all kinds of things. And that day when I left that place, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Let me just go back home. But now, we were other Africans. So because the British colonized so many African countries, we had people from Ghana, Cameroon, Gambia, Kenya. So one of my friends, Ben, he came up to me and said, Dave, you can't quit.
From Kenya? Is it Kenyan?
No, he's Ghanaian.
Okay.
He told me you can't quit. And he was a fisherman back home in Ghana. He told me you can't quit. We've come a long way. And that time I think we had about another 4 weeks to go. And he said, you can't quit. And I'm not going to let you quit. So when I was writing the letter, he came up, tore the letter and put it in the bin. And he said, we have to do this. And that's when I carried on.
All right. Speak to us. Show me. Give us a picture of that day when 124 and only 23 remained.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking this because there are many right now in their life are in their gas chamber moment.
Yes.
Okay? And they want to give up. And then for you, you had your friend who says, don't give up. Mm-hmm. So after going through all these highs and lows and breakings and saying, you know what, I'm done with this, let me go back to Kenya and do my thing. That moment when you're told you've done it, from your father to the cop who told you to apply, to your friend from Ghana, what emotions went through? Because there's somebody watching and they're about to give up. In fact, they're saying, I'm done today. Mm-hmm. But they've heard you say that 4 weeks, you had to hold on for 4 weeks, which you did. So that moment you're told, Mr. David Etale, you made it. You're among the 23. What went through your mind at that time? What was the emotion?
Man. It was amazing. And I remember the first person that I spoke to was my late best friend, Kevin Oliech.
Right.
And I called him and I said, bro, I've made it. And he was like, I knew you'd make it. And from there, I called my dad, I called my mom, I told them, I've made it. And my dad didn't even say a word. He just passed over the phone to my mom. Because I don't think, that's the time I think he started believing in me that there was something great that I was going to achieve in life.
Right.
And coming to that, I think when my father passed away in 2015, when I was trying to rebuild that relationship, I remember I went to view his body and I prayed and I asked him for forgiveness. And I said to him that where I had got to that particular moment in time, if it wasn't for him, on the things that I was reflecting, what he was telling me about to do right things, I don't think I would have been there. Because when I stepped to the UK, now I started thinking about my father more, about the things that he used to tell me. He used to tell me, you know, everything that you're looking here, the clubs, everything, they will still be here when you come back. And it was actually true. Every time I came back to Kenya, there were even better ones than the ones that I left. And that's when I knew the importance of having parents in your life. That everything that they tell you, they don't tell you because they hate you. They tell you because they love you and because they want the best for you.
Right.
So for me, that moment, marching in front of a huge crowd, lifting my chest up, that I've finished the training, one of the vigorous trainings that you can ever do in the British Army, it was a proud moment for me.
Dave, you joined the army. You know, my viewers are watching you right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about great footballer, played for great teams here. talked about the rigorous training.
Mm-hmm.
But they're seeing you now. You lost a leg.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Bomb blast accident.
Where?
Afghanistan.
So you've been drafted in, now you've gone on duty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was asking the questions of how you managed your mental toughness, because you've needed to use it now.
Yeah.
Give us a picture. I can't even interrupt.
A picture of Afghanistan.
And how you lost your leg, sir.
Mm-hmm. Afghanistan is, we were sent on a mission to go and try and help the Afghan nationals who've been struggling under the Taliban regime for a long time, for us to help them to have a good life. And that is the time. The time I deployed to Afghanistan was one of the dangerous moments in the history of the British Army during my time when I went there with our battle group. And I remember from everything that was happening was, things were happening real quick. You know, 1 minute I'm with my brother, the next minute he's in a body bag, or he's lost his limbs, or someone is seriously injured. And it kept on going over and over and again. So until when it got to one day, we had a briefing and they told us we are going to a Taliban stronghold. And at that time I was, there's something called the Fire Support Group. So the Fire Support Group is the main group now for the whole battalion, that we deal with heavy machinery. So heavy machinery to Javelin, to HMG, which is the heaviest machine gun, to the light machine gun. So I was trained on all that, and at the same time I was a driver of a vehicle called a Jackal vehicle. So that Jackal vehicle is an armored vehicle which is open roof at the top. On my left hand side we have the light machine gun where my commander is sitting, and then me as a driver, and then we have a gunner, and we have an interpreter from Afghanistan, and then we have 2 other people at the back. So that day it was...
In fact, hold on. I will leave it at that day. When we come back, what happened that day? Mm-hmm. This is the Omen Show. See you on the other side of the break. We left it at that day. And this day is the Omen Show. On that day, you've gone into one of the most hostile places. Then what happened?
So we move as a team of 4 vehicles, 4 Jackal vehicles of highly trained fire support professional soldiers that we can move on our own without needing support. That's how confident our fire support group was. And we were about, so each vehicle carries about, depending on the kind of patrol you're doing. So that day we were about, vividly, if I can remember properly, I think we were 3 vehicles actually. So we went to where we were supposed to be for the patrol. We were looking over other soldiers patrolling, going into houses, trying to look for IEDs. So IEDs are improvised explosive devices, mines, because the Taliban were very clever. They make these things by themselves, and they have places where they make them. And then, you know, Afghanistan is one of the leading countries with opium. So we got there, the whole day it was quiet, absolutely quiet. And I can remember very well, I had my flask with tea.
Mpeleka tabia wa Afrika huko. Unatafuta IEDs, unabeba tu Luya tena.
Ilikuwa tu ni
chai lazima.
Chai lazima. So it was quiet the whole day. And I was having a chat with my boss, who was a captain, Captain Morgan. And then my friend Duffy at the back, he said, I'm bored, I need some action. That's what he said. And we both turned around and said to him, please, don't even say that. We didn't even finish saying those words. We got ambushed by the Taliban. they were Taliban stronghold. Like they were proper strong. So we started engaging with them. It was a firefight for almost 2 hours. It got to a point where now your eyes are getting heavy. Your arms are tired because of the heavy machinery that you're operating, you know. And I said to my boss, what's the next move? But because I was every time when you're in the battlefield and you're under heavy fire, all you're thinking about is the next move. You're thinking the next move on how am I going to leave this place alive?
Right.
So for me as a driver, I was calculating in my head, how am I going to maneuver, because it was getting a bit dark. So at that time, when it's getting dark, I have to get into my day sack. I have to get my night vision goggles on, plug it on my helmet, switch it on, and then all I'm seeing is, I don't know if you've watched the movies where you see people wearing them and then it's just green, but you can see it's like
Right.
daylight.
Yes.
So that's the night vision. So it got to a point where now my boss told me, we need to put them on. And I said to him, mine is already on. That's how it was intense, that whatever I was doing and whatever he was doing and whatever the gunner was doing, we were completely thinking about the next step.
Right.
So we had to call in the Americans to come and help us. They came via air support, and we had to extract the area. So about 50 meters from where I was, I drove over an IED. It was a 4-chained desert IED where I can't remember anything. I just had a loud bang, and I found myself 36 hours later, I'm in a hospital in the UK. Yeah.
And that moment you're told
Mm-hmm.
you lost your leg,
Mm-hmm.
what was your reaction?
In fact, that when I was in hospital, I hadn't lost it right then.
Okay.
So when I woke up, my last memory was in Afghanistan.
But then you're in the UK.
So I'm in the UK, so I started fighting with the nurses. I was looking for my weapon. So I was looking for my rifle.
So when you opened your eyes, as far as you're concerned, these are your enemies.
Yeah. Because that's where my last memory was. So I woke up and I was looking for my rifle, and I was telling the nurses, I need to go back. I've left people on the ground. But I think that's the mentality we had. If you're injured and you're not injured, or you're out of the battlefield and your brothers are still there,
Leave no man behind.
leave no man behind. That's the rule that we had. Whether you're dead, alive, whatever has happened to you, we don't leave anyone behind. So that's the last memory, until when they assured me 30 minutes later, look, you're badly injured. So that's when I was moving, that's when I started feeling, oh, my body is not right, because I'd fractured 8 vertebrae on my lower lumbar spine. My 2 collarbones were broken, my arm, my leg, my left-hand side was really badly injured. So they told me, we need to amputate your leg. And I said, no, I need you to try everything to try and save my leg. Because I was thinking, I'm an African, we don't believe in amputation.
How many surgeries do you have?
Over 30 surgeries.
Over 30 surgeries.
Yeah.
So at that point, you had to deal with the fact that they have to amputate your leg.
It was now progress after progress, and then it got to a point where I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. At that time, I developed war post-traumatic stress disorder. I was suicidal. I nearly committed suicide twice. And I just felt like there's nothing that was happening in my life. I felt like I was a burden to people, because now I was in a position where I was walking, I was doing everything fine, but now I'm depending on people to help me. And I felt, no, I'm a soldier, you know, and if I'm a soldier, I'm going to try my level best to make sure that I don't disturb people, because I'm trained to protect people, not to let people help me. That's how my mentality was.
What kind of support structures did you have at that time? Because it must have been absolutely important. The fact that you're here with all those thoughts you're going through, what are the support structures you had at the time? Did you call back home? How did they take the news? Because it must have been very stressful, of course.
I didn't. They were called and told that David Etale has been involved in a terrible bomb blast, and So every time they tried to talk to me, I used to refuse because I didn't want to put them in a situation now to start thinking that they need to be with me. So my dad and my mom were asking, should we come? And I was like, no, you don't need to come. I'm in the best hands, medical wise. So just stay where you are. When I'm feeling better, I'll come and visit you. So I had a good support system where if you're a soldier or a veteran, they give you very good medical care around you. So I used to have medical people who used to check up on me and stuff like that. But all that, at the same time that was going on, I still felt, no, this is not me. I still have brothers in Afghanistan who are still fighting. I'm back in the UK in a safe place. And I kept on saying to myself, fix my legs so that I can go back. I need to go back. Because I was seeing everything that was happening every single time. And I think that mentality was put in by my section commander who when I was in training, unfortunately, he was the first person to get killed via a bomb blast in Afghanistan. And I think now, how he instilled that in me, I wanted to go back every single time. I used to ask the doctors, when are you doing the surgery? I want to go back. When are you doing the surgery? I want to go back. And they used to look at me like, you can't go back. And I'm like, yes, I can. You know, that's the type of mentality that soldiers at that time we had.
And at some point now, of course, lost your leg. And then something happened some time back. And I think during this pandemic, you were in the store and people were in the supermarket and people just hit you and you fell. People are fighting for tissues.
Yeah.
Please tell us about that story. Didn't they just understand, man, look, this guy needs a little bit of space?
I think when the pandemic started, it confused everything. It confused.
We are laughing, but it's not a laughing matter.
Yeah, it's not a laughing matter, but it was a situation where it confused everyone. You know, when I was at the store, because I live alone and I do my shopping on my own, so I'd gone with my wheelchair and I'd gone to reach for a tissue roll. And because now people were stocking their houses because they didn't know how long this pandemic would go for, how long the supermarket will be able to restore things back. So I was doing that. People were having a commotion and someone just hit me and I just fell. And I wasn't upset. I just smiled because I was like, 1 minute you can be so happy and everything can change from 100 to 0 real quick.
Yeah.
And that is, I look at that, at my bomb blast accident, and I look at the way this pandemic has affected so many lives, you know. And that is when I realized, you know what, each and every day that you wake up, regardless of your situation, whether it's good or bad, thank the Almighty Father for that.
Okay.
Because there are not many people who have that opportunity to even thank him.
Right.
And that's why I smiled at the store when they pushed me.
Going through that, the amputation and everything, do you now understand or do you appreciate the mental torture, for lack of a better word, you guys went through? Because it has taken you all the strength to now turn this around and you go all over, you speak to people. Mm-hmm. And through you and your story, many people have been encouraged.
Yes, especially the thing that just makes me feel that I thank God for everything, and I thank my late father for everything that he taught me, and my late mother for everything they tried to instill in me, is it's amount of like brothers that I served with, the ones that they were like family to me. People who are 18 years, 19, 20, 21. People who have gone for training. They are deployed straight to Afghanistan. They haven't even tested their first salary. A suicide bomber comes in between. They are gone. You have to explain to their families, this is what happened. a family member comes to you and says, David, tell me, how did my brother die, or how did my son die? Those things, they play in my head every single time. And that's when, like, I appreciate life, that to an extent where right now when I sit or when I go to these schools, corporates back in the UK, and I look at myself just as someone who grew up in the slum, went through everything that I went through, but now I have an audience of over 1,000 people listening to me. It takes me a step back where I'm thinking, my dad, this is what he wanted me to do. And it's unfortunate he's not here to witness.
You achieved that.
What I achieved, you know. So what I normally do is I take my phone, put his picture, and speak to him like I'm speaking to him face to face, telling him, thank you, and I'm really sorry for everything that I put him through, because I know he wanted the best for me. And you know, when you stand in front of these kids or an audience in the UK, you realize yourself the full potential that you have to make a difference, because everyone has a story.
Absolutely.
In life, everyone has a story.
And your story is being penned in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the title for the book already?
I have the title for the book.
Okay. You don't have to tell us. We'll wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
How soon will you be seeing that book? Because this book must go beyond your geographical area. You have a story that will encourage. You have a story that will make young people understand the importance of parents. Mm-hmm. And you know, in this generation, the kids call their parents old-fashioned. You don't understand. You don't. And I'm glad that you have said the words. You know, you got to a place and realized the things your father and your mother were telling you were, even if you didn't agree with them, they had your best interest at heart.
Yes.
And I want these young people to understand that. Even maybe right now, you think your parent is old-fashioned. You think, oh, no, they don't know what's happening. You've heard it from the man himself. Then now, his parents are long gone and their soul continue resting in perfect peace. He has now to put his father's photo on his phone and speak to him. For some of you who still have the privilege of having your parents, please do not take them for granted. When do we have that book? As even come to the end of the show. Around how long? How soon?
You know, at first I put a timeline.
Okay.
I put a timeline in 2017 saying I want the book in 1 year.
Yes.
But now, when I left Kenya and went back to the UK, my war post-traumatic stress disorder got really bad.
Okay.
That I had to be admitted in hospital for quite some time. So nothing was moving, and it was been in and out of hospital, my leg with the nerves in and out of hospital. So for me now, since now I'm not in actually a good space, because I'm still going through therapy with my psychiatrist, I've just said to myself, when the time is right, the book will be out. Okay. I don't want to put a timeline, because God is the one who gives us. When he says this is the time, it's going to be the time.
And just to encourage you, to give you morale to release your book, I will give you my book.
Thank you.
Let me give you this one. I hope I'm allowed. Yes, it's my book anyway. I'm allowed. So I have that book, sir.
Thank you.
Tasoma kitabu.
Yeah.
Maybe it will give you an idea. Mm-hmm. And we are looking forward to reading your book. And thank you for just using your story, your journey, to encourage many people. Mm-hmm. That many lives are being changed. And we pray that the Lord will open for you more doors, even in this country. Yeah, thank you. And I want to challenge people to, you know, you're our son. You're the son of the soil, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. And you've spoken to many institutions in the UK. Yeah. I think it's time we also glean from your story here in Kenya, because we want to learn from your journey. Yes. We want to see your scars and get the valuable lessons from your scars that will hold us in good stead as parents, as young men, young boys, even girls who are watching. Mm-hmm. So just look at that camera and give us your last words of encouragement. I have a few words. And first of all, I wanted to talk about mental health. Right. I'm a mental health advocate. And I wanted to say to especially men, because men, we are always believed to keep our feelings inside. But I just want to let people know
that it's not what you've done in your life or where you've come from. You know, men, you're also allowed to be vulnerable. You're also allowed to cry. You're also allowed to sit down and call yourself for a meeting and realize that, you know what, everything that I'm going through in life, that you can also seek medical advice, go for therapy. Look for someone that you trust to sit down and talk to. Don't just build your feelings inside you to a point where now you get to a point where now it's just suicide.
Yeah.
I've been there. It's not a nice feeling. I've been there. I know how it can hurt a family. Because when we are doing these things, we don't think about the people who love us. We're only thinking about ourselves. That is one thing that I would like to say.
Right.
And now, because of the pandemic and so many people are going through so many tough challenges, you know, be encouraged. You know, be encouraged and just tell yourself that each and every single day that you wake up, that make sure you're a blessing to someone's life. Always try and remember the people who didn't wake up. Try and remember those things. When you're complaining about something, look at this other person who's in hospital, who can't even open their mouth to complain about their pain. But they don't know whether they're going to come out from there alive. And the last thing that I would like to say is, there's nothing beautiful in life like using your own experiences and challenges in life to uplift others.
Mr. David Etale, what nickname do you have back home?
Boy.
What is your favorite sport to watch?
Football.
What is the one fundamental thing you have learnt in the army?
Resilience.
What compliment do you receive the most?
Inspiring.
What was your first job?
Footballer.
What is your fondest childhood memory?
Stealing sweets.
What makes you laugh the most?
Jokes.
Use one word. What would you describe yourself? Or how would you describe yourself?
Inspiring.
Favorite homemade meal?
Chapati.
Favorite football team?
Manchester United.
Thank you, Mr. Etale. And this is the All Men Show. I would not even add anything more. Robert Brawley is my name, your coach and your friend. See you next week.